All right, so we're now on day 6 of what the media is calling an armed standoff in Oregon, but I don't know who they're really standing up against because there's no real law enforcement presence there. I know they're in the middle of nowhere, so they're not really posing a huge risk, and the feds are always worried about another Waco. But Josh, are they really just going to let these militants with assault rifles just hold this space indefinitely?
I mean, I don't know about indefinitely, but I think they are definitely ready to play the long game on this, especially since winter is getting more and more harsh now. Especially out there, it's going to be weather's going to be a challenge. I think they're expecting at least the majority of them to pack it in and go home, especially if the media attention dies down.
Well, earlier this week, the militia was allegedly told that there's warrants to arrest 5 of them, and the group began to set up defensive positions around the camp. Eric, when things do go down, do you think that this can actually be resolved peacefully?
I guess it depends how willing these guys are to actually pull the trigger on their guns. I mean, they've made it seem like they're interested in doing that, but it's a different story when you're actually confronted. I don't think any bullets were traded at the Bundy Ranch, if I recall. It eventually kind of resolved, and that was that. It's a lot of talk from a bunch of, cowboy-style guys that think that they can live in the Wild West. I think they have more bark than they have bite.
Well, at the Bundy Ranch, the feds stood down and pretty much allowed Cliven Bundy to keep not paying his taxes, to keep, to get his cattle back. Peter, the demands here are a little more intricate, and they're probably not going to get what they want, which is the government ceding federal lands to basically them.
Well, a timely drone strike could easily clear this thing up. But no, I mean, I think I agree with my colleagues. First of all, there's not going to be any kind of serious standoff because the last thing the federal government wants to do is martyr these guys. We can't seem to learn that lesson overseas with ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but I think that we've got it here in the United States. A standoff is just going to create another legend, Waco, Ruby Ridge, things like this. So if I were the federal government, I would cut off the electricity, the water, the internet. Nothing gets in or out. Put a cordon around it, and let them sit in there until they freeze up and eventually slunk home. I mean, nothing would send a stronger signal that they are the complete losers that we all know they are than one day they just kind of walk out and go home. If they want to put tacos out at the end of the driveway to kind of lure them out or something like that, that would be interesting. But otherwise, the less the government does,
a case of Keystone Light, I think, would do it.
Yeah. Okay. The less the government does, the better.
There's some turmoil developing between the different participants as well. In one of the stories I was writing today, there was an individual, Raya Buddha Cavalier, who I guess has left since occupying it after stories came up that he was lying about his service. So there's certain people that are starting to cave. There was the other guy yesterday, too, with that weird name, Finicum or something, that he said he was ready to die for the cause, but just a couple hours before that, he had went to the media and said something along the lines of that he wanted to get home and return to his cows. They were lost and wandering. Probably government land, but you know what I mean? So I don't think that they're all as devout to the cause as they made it out to be. When we see the Ammon Bundys coming in the media and we're ready to fight till the death and stay here and take the government down, that's just the minority. I don't think most of those guys will do that. And shit hits the fan, they're going to take off.
It actually kind of reminds me of those kids that flew Canada or Europe to go join ISIS, and then they get there and it's oh, there's not even working toilets here. This sounded like a good idea at the time.